To rescue the black emptiness of space was not silent tonight. Captain Ray Morgan's cargo ship, the Horizon, shook as a solar storm's energy washed over it. Warning lights flashed red. The metal walls groaned like they were alive. Ray's hands danced over the control panel, trying to keep his ship from spinning into the asteroid field ahead. Easy, easy, he muttered. His voice was calm, but his heart was pounding like a war drum. Then, through the static-filled radio, he heard it, a sound that made him freeze. A cry, not mechanical, not a distress beep. A real voice. It was high-pitched, broken, and desperate. The words were not in English. They were in some alien language, fast and panicked, mixed with heavy breathing. Then came another sound, a softer, rhythmic noise. It was like a baby crying, but strange, higher, not human. Ray's eyes narrowed. What the hell? He tapped the scanner. A single escape pod was drifting between two huge asteroids. It spun slowly, its surface scorched and cracked. Power levels were low. If the pod hit one of the asteroids, it would be crushed instantly. The voice came again, louder now. And this time, Ray heard another sound in the background, a steady ping. A targeting lock. Someone was hunting at pod. Ray knew the smart thing was to leave. His cargo route was already dangerous. Fuel was low. But something inside him, maybe stubbornness, maybe guilt from old battles, told him he couldn't. Just fly past. He turned the ship toward the pod. All right, whoever you are, let's hope you're worth the trouble. The Horizon's engines roared as Ray pushed them to max. The escape pod grew larger on the view screen. Through the cracked glass, he saw a figure inside, female-shaped, with pale silver skin that shimmered even in the dim light. Her head was bowed, her hands clutching her stomach. Then his radar screamed. 3 red dots appeared, small, fast-moving. Ships closing in. Great, just great, Ray said under his breath. The alien woman inside the pod raised her head. Even from a distance, Ray could see her eyes. Bright, glowing blue. She looked straight into the ship's camera, as if she knew he was watching. She spoke again, her voice urgent, and her hand pressed to the glass. Ray didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was begging him. He locked the tractor beam onto the pod. Hang on, lady. As the beam pulled the pod toward the Horizon, the first enemy fighter opened fire. Blue plasma streaked past his ship, shaking the hull. Ray swore and yanked the controls, diving between 2 spinning asteroids. The pod slammed into his cargo bay with a heavy thud. Gotcha, Ray said, but there was no time to celebrate. The 3 alien fighters stayed on his tail. They moved like sharks, fast and patient. Another blast grazed the ship's left wing, burning the metal. Warning alarm screamed. Ray pushed the ship harder, weaving through the asteroid belt. Chunks of rock, the size of houses, spun past. 1. Wrong move, and they'd be debris. In the cargo bay, the alien woman clung to the safety harness inside her pod. She kept one arm around her swollen stomach, the other gripping the seat. She winced with every hard turn of the ship. The enemy ships split up, one above, one below, one coming straight at him. They were hurting him. Ray gritted his teeth. Not today. He spotted a narrow gap between 2 massive asteroids. It was risky, maybe impossible, but it was his only chance. He angled the ship toward it. The fighters followed, speeding up. Inside the cockpit, Ray's hands moved with old combat instinct. He killed the main lights, plunging the ship into darkness. His eyes stayed locked on the controls as he timed his move. 3 seconds. 2. 1. He fired the afterburners. The Horizon shot forward like a bullet, slipping through the gap with only meters to spare. Behind him, the enemy ships tried to follow. One clipped the asteroid and exploded in a ball of fire. The other two veered away, losing sight of him in the chaos. For a moment, there was silence again, only the hum of the engines and Ray's heavy breathing. He checked the scanner. Clear. No ships in pursuit. Ray leaned back, running a hand over his face. That was stupid, he told himself. Real stupid. Still, he couldn't shake the image of those glowing blue eyes. Leaving the autopilot on, Ray walked down to the cargo bay. The escape pod's door had cracked open. Inside, the alien woman was slumped forward, weak but breathing. Her silver skin glistened with sweat, and her hands still held her stomach protectively. Ray crouched near her. "You all right?" he asked. She blinked slowly, focusing on him. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't understand. But he could hear the fear in her voice. And something else. "Urgency dot," he pointed to her stomach. You're pregnant?" She nodded, once sharply. Then her expression shifted to pain. Her eyes squeezed shut as she let out a sharp cry. Ray's stomach sank. "Oh no, don't tell me." Her breathing grew fast and shallow. Her hands gripped the sides of the seat. She whispered something again, her voice trembling, even without the translator. Ray understood enough. The babies were coming. Asterisk the pursuit. The moment Ray understood, the babies were coming. The universe decided to make things worse. A deep, bone-rattling thume shook the horizon. The ship's walls groaned. Red lights exploded across the control panel. They had found him again. Ray rushed back to the cockpit. The scanner flashed 3 new red dots, closing in fast. Same model fighters as before, but now, bigger guns. The enemy wanted this woman badly enough to chase him into a storm, an asteroid belt, and now open space. That meant one thing. She wasn't just any refugee. "All right," Ray muttered, strapping in. "You want to chase? Let's dance." Through the rear cameras, the alien woman appeared in the cargo bay, gripping the side of her pod. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight as another wave of pain hit her. She was trying not to scream, not because she wasn't in pain, but because she knew the sound might distract him. The fighters opened fire. Bright blue plasma bolts tore past the ship, lighting the darkness like lightning. One shot hit close enough to shake the cockpit. Sparks burst from a panel above Ray's head. "Great," he said. "One more of those, and we'll all be space." Dust. He threw the ship into a dive, engines screaming. The fighters followed. They were faster, but Ray had something they didn't: combat scars and an unhealthy love for risky flying. He skimmed the surface of a dead moon, so close the metal hull rattled from the passing rocks. The fighters split up, 2 staying behind. Him while one shot ahead to cut him off. Ray grinned without humor. Smart move, but not smart enough. He spotted a canyon in the moon's surface, just wide enough for the horizon. He dropped into it, twisting and rolling through the jagged rock spires. The fighters roared in after him. Plasma blasts slammed into the canyon walls, showering the ship with debris. In the cargo bay, the alien woman gasped as the ship rolled hard. One of her hands gripped her stomach. The other tapped a small device on her wrist. A faint blue glow spread over her skin for a moment, then vanished. Ray didn't see it. He was too busy not dying. The canyon narrowed, dangerously so. Ray's eyes flicked between the scanner and the jagged walls. There was no turning back now. The lead fighter took the risk and moved closer, firing nonstop. One bolt scraped the horizon's starboard wing. Metal screamed. Ray's vision blurred from the vibration. He hit the combs. "Lady, if you've got any miracle ideas, now's the time." No reply. Only her labored breathing through the open. Channel. Then. An alarm Ray had never heard before blared from the ship's core. A signal override. His navigation screen flickered. A new route appeared, not from him, but from her. She was feeding him coordinates. Ray hesitated for only a second. All right, let's see where you want to go. He yanked the ship out of the canyon at the last second, shooting straight up into open space. The fighters followed, still firing. Ray punched in the alien coordinates. A shimmering tear in space opened ahead, a micro wormhole, unstable and swirling with electric light. Oh, that's safe, Ray muttered, voice dripping with sarcasm. The fighters hesitated. Ray didn't. He dove into the wormhole. The horizon stretched, twisted, and vanished into blinding white silence. Ray blinked. The stars outside were wrong. The scanner showed nothing but a single gas giant and a ring of tiny moons. No fighters. No signals. They were alone. He leaned back, breath shaky. Guess you knew a shortcut. In the cargo bay, the alien woman slumped against the pod's seat, sweat dripping down her face. She gave him a weak smile, the kind of smile that hides fear. Then she whispered something he didn't understand. But one word, one sound, kept repeating. Ray frowned. It almost sounded like they. He didn't like the way she said it, because if they had found her twice already, they'd find her again. And next time, they wouldn't just be 3 fighters. Asterisk the hidden world. The wormhole spat the horizon out like it was rejecting the taste of them. 1 second, Ray was gripping the controls. The next, they were floating in a thick violet mist. It swirled like liquid clouds, glowing faintly from some unknown light source. The scanner went crazy, then went dark. No stars, no beacons, no radio signals. Just fog. Ray didn't like places his instruments couldn't read. They were usually full of bad surprises. He switched to manual and kept the ship slow. The alien woman sat in the cargo bay, one hand over her stomach, the other holding onto that strange wrist device. Her eyes stayed fixed on the mist outside, the window, like she was searching for something invisible. Then, faintly, shapes began to form in the distance. At first, Ray thought they were asteroids, but they were too smooth, too sharp. They were towers, massive black towers rising from some hidden surface below the mist. He muttered, "Well, that's not creepy at all." As they got closer, Ray realized the towers weren't buildings. They were antenna arrays, hundreds of them, reaching into the sky like skeletal fingers. Around them floated derelict ships, old and broken. Like a graveyard, the alien woman pointed toward one of the towers. Her voice was soft but firm. "Krathen." Ray shrugged. "Sure, Krathen it is." He guided the horizon down into a narrow gap between the towers. The fog thinned, revealing a giant landing platform built into the side of a black cliff. As soon as they touched down, the platform's surface lit with pale blue symbols. Ray grabbed his blaster before opening the hatch. The air outside was still and heavy. The alien woman stepped out slowly, holding her stomach, her silver skin glowing faint in the blue light. The symbols under her feet changed as she walked, almost like they recognized her. Ray followed, eyes scanning for movement. And then he saw them. Figures in the mist, tall, thin, and wrapped in shadow. They didn't walk. They glided. One of them stepped forward, its face hidden under a smooth black mask with no eyes. When it spoke, the voice was like metal grinding on stone. "You bring her here, human." "You?" "Bring the vessel." Ray tightened his grip on his blaster. "Yeah, about that. We need a doctor, not a welcome committee." The masked figure tilted its head, ignoring him. It turned toward the alien woman, speaking in her language. Her reply was short and sharp, but Ray caught the tone. Defiance. Suddenly, the other masked figures moved in closer, surrounding them. Ray stepped in front of her. "Back up. She's not going anywhere with you." The leader leaned forward. The vessel must be delivered. Without it, the cycle breaks. And if the cycle breaks, all worlds die. Ray had no idea what that meant. But he didn't like it. Then, from deep within the mist, a low, rumbling hum started. The air vibrated. The alien woman's knees buckled, and she gasped, not from pain, but from recognition. "They are here," she whispered in English. Her first English words to him. Ray's blood went cold. "Who?" Before she could answer, the ground shook. Violently. Something massive moved beyond the towers, so large that Ray could feel the shift in the air above them. The violet mist churned like a storm. Shadows passed overhead, and in the fog, Ray caught the faint outline of a ship. No, bigger than a ship. Something alive. The masked leader stepped back. "You have brought them upon us." The alien woman's eyes locked on Ray's. "Run." Asterisk birth in the shadows. The word "run" still echoed in Ray's head when the first explosion hit. The landing platform tilted as a shockwave rolled through it. Blue light symbols shattered into sparks. Somewhere above, the giant shadow in the mist roared, deep, ancient, and angry. Ray grabbed the alien woman's arm. "Move!" They sprinted toward the horizon, but the masked figures blocked the path. The leader raised one long, bony hand. The symbols on the platform flared bright, and went dark all at once. The power died. The only light now came from the mist, and from the faint glow of the alien woman's skin. Her breathing was ragged. She stumbled, clutching her stomach. "It's time," she gasped. Ray's eyes darted to the towers. From the fog between them, more shapes emerged, not ships. Not people, but something insect-like, crawling down the black metal walls. Too many legs, too many eyes. And moving too fast. Ray didn't think. He scooped her into his arms and ran for the nearest entrance into the tower. Inside was worse. The air was thick, smelling like burned metal. Long, narrow corridors stretched in every direction, lit only by flickering strips of blue light that seemed ready to die any second. The masked leader's voice echoed from somewhere behind them. The vessel must survive. Bring her below. Ray ignored it. He needed a safe space. He found a side room, small, full of dusty storage crates. Not perfect, but better than the open hall. He laid her down gently. "Stay here." No. She cut in, grabbing his wrist. Her glowing blue eyes locked on his. "You stay. It's coming now." Ray felt a cold knot in his stomach. "We don't have a medic." She shook her head. "You are enough." Before Ray could argue, the lights in the room went out completely. Darkness. Click. A faint, steady tapping sound began in the hallway outside. Not footsteps. Claws. Ray drew his blaster and moved toward the door. He kept his back to her, listening. The sound was slow at first. Then it stopped. Silence. He risked a glance into the hall. Nothing. Just mist creeping in through the cracks in the walls. Then something moved inside the mist. A pair of eyes, glowing red, unblinking, stared straight at him. The alien woman cried out in pain. Her voice shook the room. "Ray!" The red eyes blinked once. Then the thing lunged. Ray fired. The blaster shot lit the hall for half a second, enough to see a nightmare of chitin and teeth rushing toward him. The shot hit, but the creature didn't slow. He slammed the door shut and braced it with his shoulder. Metal bent under the thing's weight. The sound of claws scraping the door filled the room. Behind him, the alien woman screamed, not in fear, but from the birth starting. "Ray!" She shouted again, this time almost pleading. He turned. Her silver skin was glowing brighter now, almost blinding. Something strange, like thin streams of light, curled off her body into the air. The pounding on the door grew harder. Something hissed, a wet, rattling sound. The smell of blood and burned ozone leaked in. Ray dropped to his knees beside her. "All right, you're going to be fine. We'll get through this." She clutched his arm with surprising strength. Protect them. At all cost. The glow around her grew so bright, it turned the room white. The pounding at the door stopped Dot in the sudden silence. Two newborn cries filled the air. High, strange. But alive, Ray blinked, his eyes adjusting as the light faded. She was holding two tiny alien babies in her arms, their skin shimmering like liquid silver Dot, and Ray's stomach turned. The door was open, and something was standing in the doorway, watching them. The last escape Ray froze. The figure in the doorway wasn't the insect creature he expected. It was one of the masked beings from the platform, tall, thin, and still as stone. The smooth black mask reflected the faint silver glow from the newborn twins. The alien woman's breathing slowed, but her eyes stayed locked on the masked figure. She didn't speak, just tightened her grip on the babies. Ray raised his blaster. "If you're here to take her, you're not leaving alive." The figure tilted its head. The voice that came from behind the mask was calm, too calm. "They are here. You have little time." Ray's finger stayed on the trigger. Who's they? The giant bug outside? The shadow in the mist? Or your friends with the creepy robes? The figure stepped inside, ignoring the weapon. Its movements were smooth, too smooth, like it wasn't walking, but gliding over the floor. It knelt in front of the alien woman and touched the air above one of the babies. Not the baby itself, just the space around it. The blue symbols on its black gloves pulsed once. The alien woman's lips moved. She whispered something in her. Language, soft, careful, and the masked figure gave a slow nod. Ray didn't like this one bit. "Someone want to tell me what's happening before I start shooting?" The masked figure turned its head toward him. "The hunters follow. Your jump trail. They will break this place. All who remain will die. You must take the vessel and leave." Ray blinked. "You mean her?" "No," the figure said simply. "Them." Ray looked at the twins. A cold shiver crawled up his spine. "What do you mean, them?" The figure didn't answer. Instead, it rose to its full height and pointed toward a narrow service corridor in the corner. "Your ship, that way. The outer gates are closing." Ray hesitated. This could be a trap. Then the building shook violently, so hard dust rained from the ceiling. From somewhere far above came a terrible, deafening roar, and then a metallic screech, like steel being ripped in half. The masked figure leaned closer to Ray. Its voice was lower now. "If they take the children, all worlds burn." Ray didn't have time to ask more. The alien woman looked at him. No fear, only urgency. "Go." He holstered the blaster, scooped her and the babies into his arms, and bolted into the corridor. The masked figure didn't follow. The passage was narrow, walls lined with pipes and cables. Steam hissed from vents. Somewhere behind them, the sound of shattering metal grew louder. And closer. They burst out onto the far side of the platform. The horizon was there, but it wasn't alone. 3 enemy fighters hovered just above. The landing deck, their weapons locked on his ship. Ray's heart sank. We're not getting out unless... He didn't finish. The sky above the fighters split open. A giant shape, the one from the mist, descended in total silence. At first, it looked like a mountain falling from the sky. Then Ray realized it was alive. Its skin was like black glass, its many eyes glowing faint red. The enemy fighters immediately turned their weapons on it and fired. The shots bounced off. Harmlessly, the creature opened its massive mouth, and a sound came out. Not a roar, not a scream, a signal. Ray's ship's console lit up on his wrist display. The Horizon's eye recognized the sound. It was a frequency used for control. Ray stared at the screen. Oh no, it's calling something. In the distance, dozens of smaller shapes began moving through the mist, answering the call. Ray tightened his grip on the alien woman. We're leaving now. Years of silence. The first year was the loudest. The twins, Kale and Mira, cried in strange, echoing tones that didn't sound like any human baby. They glowed faintly when they slept. Sometimes, when they were upset, Ray swore he could hear a hum in the air, low and steady, like a machine powering up. By the second year, the glow had faded, but the hum never left. It was always there in the background, like a sound only he could notice. Ray raised them in a small, forgotten colony, on the edge of human space, a place where nobody asked questions, where ships rarely passed by, and where the local bar kept to the unspoken rule: you don't look too hard at your neighbor's past. He taught them how to fish in the green canals, how to fix a water pump, how to cook stew without burning it. He told them bedtime stories, but never the real one. As they grew, the twins were different. Kale could remember things after seeing them once, even complex maps. Mira could sense people before they entered a room, sometimes whispering their names before the door opened. They thought it was normal. Ray knew better. In the 5th year, the first shadow came. It appeared on the ridge outside their farm, tall, thin, and completely still. Ray spotted it at dusk, outlined against the deep red sky. He grabbed his old rifle and went outside, but when he reached the ridge, there was nothing. The next morning, Kale asked him why the tall man didn't come inside. Ray told him it was just his imagination. He didn't believe it himself. The 8th year brought the first signal. Ray was fixing the roof when his wrist console beeped with an incoming transmission. No ID, just static, and then a single, high-pitched nope. He shut it off instantly. That night, he locked the twins' bedroom window and moved his blaster from the storage box to under his bed. By the 10th year, the twins had started asking questions about their mother. Ray gave the same answer every time. She was brave. She loved you. She's gone. But he could see the doubt in Myra's eyes. And sometimes, late at night, he caught Kale in the barn, staring up at the stars like he was waiting for someone. The 10th year was when the peace began to break. One evening, the colony sky lit up with a streak of fire, a ship crashing far beyond the ridge. The local council said it was debris from an old mining rig. Ray knew better. 3 days later, Myra found a black, smooth mask lying in the reeds by the canal. It was cracked down the middle, blue symbols faintly glowing on its surface. Ray took it from her without a word, wrapped it in cloth, and buried it deep under the barn floorboards. That night, the hum in the air grew louder. The 16th year, the final year of quiet, ended with a message. It wasn't sent to Ray. It was sent to them. The twins were in the attic, exploring old storage crates, when a dusty projector blinked on by itself. The image that formed in the air made them freeze. It was her. Silver skin, glowing blue eyes. The voice they had never heard, but somehow knew. "My children," she began, speaking in perfect English. "If you are seeing this, it means the hunters have found you." Ray burst into the attic, his face pale. Turn it off, but it was too late. The last thing the hologram said before vanishing was, "You must find your father." The twins turned to Ray. And for the first time, they didn't see a farmer. They saw the man who had been lying to them for 16 years. Asterisk the revelation, the attic felt smaller. Now. Ray stood frozen, the projector still casting a faint blue haze across the dust-filled air. Kale's fists were clenched. Myra's eyes were wet but unblinking. "You lied," Kale said quietly. Ray didn't answer. You said she died in an accident, Mira added, her voice shaking. You said, I said what I had to, Ray cut in, his voice rough, to keep you alive. The twins exchanged a glance, a silent conversation, only they could understand. Alive from what? Cale asked. Ray opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the entire house shook. A low, heavy boom rolled through the air, making the old wooden beams creak. Myra's head turned toward the window. They're here. Outside, the sky burned. A single dark shape hung above the colony, massive, blocking out the evening light. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, ripples running across it. Around it, smaller ships spread out, diving toward the ground like predators. The projector in the attic flickered back to life. The silver-skinned woman's face returned, urgent. Now, eyes darting as if she could see what was happening around them. My children, she said, you must listen. You are not only my blood, you are the last key. The cycle cannot continue without you. That is why they will never stop. Her voice cut off, replaced by static. Then another voice came through. It wasn't hers, that it was deep, cold, and inhuman. Ray, Morgan, return the vessel, or we burn your world. The projector went dark. Ray moved fast. Downstairs? Now. The twins didn't move. You knew, Cale said, his voice louder now. All these years you knew what we were. I didn't know everything, Ray snapped. But I knew enough to know the truth would get you killed. Or it could have prepared us, Mira shot back. Another explosion shook the house. The window shattered, spraying glass across the floor. Through the jagged frame, they could see one of the smaller ships land at the edge of their farm, its black hull hissing as it cooled. Figures stepped out, tall, thin, their faces covered in smooth black masks, the same kind from Ray's nightmares. Basement, Ray ordered, grabbing the rifle from under his bed. Cale didn't move. He was staring out the window, his face pale. But his eyes were glowing faint blue. Cale? Myra whispered. I can hear them, he said. His voice was strange now, distant. They're speaking to me, telling me to come. Ray spun toward him. Don't listen. That's not them. That's control. Fight it. But before he could reach him, Cale stepped toward the open window. Mira grabbed his arm. No, don't. The attic door slammed open. A masked figure stood there, framed in the doorway. UNMOVI Anji. Had lifted one hand. The blue symbols on its glove pulsed once. Cale's eyes widened. It's not here for me. The masked figure turned its head slowly toward Ray. It spoke. It's here for you.